What are you saying about me?
I'm not saying anything, mate.
Want to start some trouble?
No,
Want to knock you out?
No.
Yeah, I think you do, mate.
No.
So the first unspoken rule is be the first to go.
You're saying that I shouldn't wait to defend myself after I've been punched. I should be preempting the attack.
Look, we all know that if you get into a fight, the first person to be aggressive, the first person to throw a punch is more likely going to be the one that actually prevails in the violent encounter.
Okay, why is that?
Because essentially, not only are you taking control aggressively, but you're taking control emotionally and physically of the fight.
The guy's angry, he's invading my space, he's coming in, so I want to be able to strike.
But the problem is most people are good people and they actually don't want to hit first. They don't want to do a preemptive strike. It's a difficult judgment to make.
Let's say before someone's hit me, but I can see they're clearly trying to sort of aggress me. How can I know what's reasonable?
I'd always advise going first if you feel like the encounter is escalating. Don't let it escalate to a level where you can't control it.
Okay.
So we're talking about the degree of aggression here. If someone's getting angrier and angrier and angrier and you're allowing them to get even angrier, then they've gone from 1 to 10 straight away but suddenly pulled a weapon. You've got no control of the situation.
So we're here trying to maintain an element of control so that we aren't, again, on the back foot, responding, dealing with anything that can occur. Because these are chaotic situations, you've got to try and keep on top of them.
The question is, with what?
That's to me the first thing that comes to mind when you say go first is okay, but how do I know I'm not being, disproportionate with because I'm not responding. It's easier to check the proportionate level of response. But if you're going first, how do I know I'm not being unreasonable?
If you're looking for an actual technique or an idea, punching the solar plexus is a good way to go first.
So the best place to strike would be the solar plexus, bang.
You've got to train it. You can't just
do it on the fly.
Do it on the fly. You actually have to be quite good at punching people in the solar plexus.
Always hit the solar plexus. So you've got the chest, you've got the ribs. It's this weak spot right here where my fingers are disappearing in. So it's not my abdomen as such. It's literally where your rib cage wires down and starts to wires here. So you're trying to get your knuckles all the way into that. Now I always suggest a vertical fist for this because it fits quite nicely into the solar plexus. So when I'm hitting, I'm hitting with a knuckle, boom, boom, into his solar plexus. It hurts. It wins him and it makes it really difficult for him to breathe.
Because that's going to take the wind out.
It's going to take the wind out of them. And what it will do is it will incapacitate the person quite quickly, but it's not as threatening as trying to swing for the hills and going mad.
What I want to essentially do is hit in a way that it's very difficult for him to see. That essentially wouldn't be punching his head. If I try to punch his head when he's in my space, when he's in my face, then he's going to see it, react, and probably start to attack me anyway, which was his plan.
Right. So you can hit to the solar plexus and then follow up with a head strike.
As I was saying, A, I don't want him to see the punch coming in. That's why I'm punching the solar plexus. B, I want to try to stop him as quick as I can. That's the reason why I'm punching the solar plexus, because it wins him. And then the last thing is, how do I generate the power for that? Well, the power generation really comes primarily from the hip. I draw the hip back. So when I draw the hip back, I whip the hip. So if you watch, you'll see that the hip comes back and then goes forward. So the hip comes back and then goes forward. So essentially when I'm striking, the power, bang, comes from the whip of the hip. The hip whips. As the hip whips, I hit nice and powerfully from here, bang, into the solar plexus. That was the ribs slightly. Sorry, that was a bit of a liver shot there. So it would have hurt a little bit more on that one. Sorry about that.
Still works.
Yeah, it still works. But the point of what I'm trying to say is that when someone's invading your space, you've got to be able to deliver power quite quickly in that small period or that small space.
That brings me on to my last question, if I have a list of them. What do I have to do to neutralise the threat? How far do I have to go? We've talked now about being first, being reasonable in judging when I'm forced to take action, but now I want to know, for the duration of the encounter, how do I incapacitate the person, neutralise the threat, keep myself safe? How far do I go?
Well, this is always going to be a discussion on reasonable force, and reasonable force to me is quite logical. You hit a guy, he falls on the floor, you don't then start stamping on his head if he can't defend himself.
So it's only if somebody continues to attack you that you continue to defend yourself. So defending yourself is ultimately about as quick and simply as possible, breaking the threat down. And if they stop attacking you,
the threat ends. As soon as the threat ends, if you continue after the threat,
you're then the aggressor.
You're then the aggressor, and that becomes unreasonable. But morally and justifiably, you couldn't justify that in a court of law.
Okay, that's good to know.
Hopefully that's been some use to you. Think about it, try it. Best way to try it is maybe not on a person.
Not on a person. Wall bag.
Yeah, wall bag, some heavy bag, anything really. Try to see if you can generate power from a short distance. It'll give you a little bit of confidence when someone's invading your space, because I guess the point is they invade your space, you hit them, but you try not to run away from them. Thanks for watching.